ऐसी बहुत सारी इंटरनेशनल फिल्म्स होती हैं that become extremely relevant to people across the world. They somehow resonate with the times that we are living in. I saw the trial of the Chicago 7 on Netflix and I felt that this is the film every Indian needs to watch right now. At a time when not just India but the whole world is in need of justice, this film feels like taking a long breath after spending years underwater. Some films choose their time of release, but time chose this film and that's why it's just so damn relevant for the entire world. The trial of the Chicago 7 based है एक true story पे that depicts the story of 8 activists falsely accused of inciting riots during the 1968 Democratic National Convention held in Chicago. लगभग 6 महीने तक चलने वाले इस ट्रायल में we see some crucial moments from the riots in the form of flashbacks. The flashbacks tell us कि कैसे वो riots शुरू हुए थे. It also gives some sort of background of all the main protagonists and their cause of protest. Tom Hayden and Rennie Davis organized student protests for those who saw their batchmates and colleagues drop their studies and go to war in Vietnam. The Youth International Party co-founders Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, the pacifist activist David Dillinger, and the Black Panther chairman Bobby Seale, who was protesting against an unjust war, sending thousands of African Americans to die in the war. And while doing this, it also tells us something about who these activists are as humans. And it's important to know what they're fighting so that the audience can connect with them. That's how you represent history dramatically. And when it comes to one of the most significant trials in US history, Aaron Sorkin seems to be the man for the job. While watching the film, you feel this strongly that Sorkin is an idealist and he believes in the idea of justice. You can literally feel the tension rising in your body as the film moves towards its climax. And ये और भी ज़्यादा impressive तब हो जाता है when you have followed Sorkin from his earlier works. Remember the movie A Few Good Men, which was also a courtroom drama? This film has, if not more, the same intensity and the thrill, all done just inside a courtroom. In one of the interviews, he mentioned how the original script was written in 2007 and Steven Spielberg was supposed to direct it. So after more than 10 years, he rewrote it to point out how similar the situation America is in right now, as it was half a century ago. How the country's socio-political atmosphere is at a tipping point. Which brings me to how the movie is as much relevant in India as it is in the US. Just this year, we saw 2 major protests that headlined across the world, shifting the focus to police brutality. The anti-CAA protests in India and the Black Lives Matter marches in the US. आए दिन हम ये न्यूज़ में पढ़ते रहते हैं that journalists, students and even doctors are jailed for asking questions or criticizing the government. In one of the earlier scenes in the film, District Attorney Richard Schultz, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, says that the state is actually making a mistake by giving these activists a trial, and how this trial is giving these activists a platform. And that's exactly what they want. This wouldn't sound so scary if in the current context, the activists in our country at least got a platform to put across their point, and not just straight away tagged anti-national by the people. The film keeps reminding you that dissent inevitably invites punishment. It also makes a very clear distinction between the ideologies of these activists. Abby Hoffman can't give his opinion without being sarcastic or humorous, which makes him the stoned countercultural icon. Putting up a judge's gown and dressing up as a policeman underneath it in the court while on a trial is his kind of dissent. And he's very different from Tom Hayden, who is well-read, restrained and calm. Basically an intellectual जो आज के time में somehow एक गाली बन गया है. The film is considerably straightforward with some humorous undertones in the first half, till the makers remind us about the racial injustice in the film and the Black Panther chairman Bobby Seale is chained and gagged in the middle of the trial in the courtroom. Film का title है The Trial of the Chicago 7, but there were 8 activists who were on trial. Bobby Seale, after continuously asking the judge to give him a lawyer, keeps raising his voice against how the state is biased and is not allowing him to exercise his constitutional rights. His battle against racial discrimination is tagged anti-national, leftist, and all the usual terms. The whole country is focused on this trial. This is the battle of right and, well, left. All the cameras are pointing towards the courtroom. The whole country is distracted from the real war that's happening in Vietnam, and this distraction is carried on for 6 long months. Does that sound familiar to you? The judge is a biased, pro-establishment figure and he loves to charge defendants as well as their lawyer with the contempt of court charges. At the end of the film, it is told to us that in an annual survey, 78% of annual Chicago lawyers gave Judge Julius Hoffman a rating of unqualified. He proves that power is vicious. And when it goes absolute, the oppressors become invincible. उन्हें लगता है कि वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन और लॉस के भी ऊपर है. And that's why they think कि वो जितना भी injustice absolute power के साथ कर रहे हैं, वो कोई याद नहीं रखेगा. And that's why when people take it to the streets, a sense of fear starts rippling through the cracks of bigotry in absolute power. They might think that they are invincible and no one can see their injustice, but fortunately and hopefully, as the Chicago 7 chant, The film's true motive comes to the forefront when Abby Hoffman is asked whether he has contempt for his government, and he replies that the institutions of democracy are wonderful things, and right now they are populated by some terrible people. And that pretty much sums up the entire socio-political climate of our country. In real life, the trial may not have ended with the best results for a fight against a corrupted justice system, but Sorkin manages to make us feel like it did. And the way he does that in the end, it would have been an experience to witness the cheering and clapping in the theaters. Watch this film because it is a reminder to all of us that fortunately we live in a democracy. And the best part about living in a democracy is to have the opportunity to raise our voice against systemic injustice. Watch it because it asks us, how far are we willing to go to fight for what we truly believe in? Surely it might put off a lot of privileged and apolitical ones, but it's not really a time to think about them when there are caste-based crimes happening daily in our country. Crimes against women is on an all-time high. And all this is in between a pandemic, which unfortunately is not a priority for us anymore. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this film. And for more such videos on films, subscribe to Indiatimes.